Good morning, America. How are ya? Monday Morning Rail. Hi, I'm Denny Jelsma, and I'm at the world famous Jacksonville Terminal Railroad Museum. And today is Monday, and you know what we do on Monday? You guessed it, we do show and tell. And show and tell is going to start in just a moment. Today's show and tell is going to talk about the Texas Pacific and the Mopac. But Jelsma Graphics sponsors show and tell every week. Go to jelsma.com. That's Jelsma for all your embroidered railroad needs. We've been doing this since 1985, 40 years of providing embroidered clothing, hats, shirts, jackets. Go to jelsma.com. And with all that being said, show and tell is going to start right now. Show and tell number 158 starts right now, and we're going to talk about the Texas Pacific and the Missouri Pacific. These are two fine railroads that were based in Texas, and it went into Arkansas, Louisiana, uh, and also into Missouri and Kansas. Very nice railroad. But the train we're going to talk about is the Texas Pacific, and it was their number one train. And the T&P went all the way to El Paso, and basically you could board in New York City, get on a sleeping car, and ride all the way to L.A. and you would ride the Pennsylvania to St. Louis, get on, they take that car at St. Louis, transfer it uh, to the Missouri Pacific. Missouri Pacific would take it to Fort Worth, Texas, and the T&P, the Texas Pacific, would take it to El Paso, and then the Southern Pacific would take it on the Los Angeles. But I have a rendition of the Texas Eagle. I'm very proud of this. I like brass, as a lot of you know, and this train is an all brass train except the two engines. They're Broadways. But let's take a look at this Texas Pacific train that we have. Starting out, we have the E8, and my modeling I'm doing is basically in 1958 era. These are Broadways, E8s. They're just absolutely gorgeous. They run great, sound great. I just really love them. The next car is an RPO. That's a coachyard. This is the latest run of the coachyard. And then we have a coachyard baggage. Then I have a old Balboa I threw in there just for kicks, and which I have coachyard coaches. Then the Solarium Dome. This happens to be a Hallmark by Hallmark. This is an old one. I also have a new modern uh, uh, dome car by Coachyard. I just didn't put it in this. This is a Coachyard new modern run coach. Then their new modern latest run, the dining car. They had absolutely great service on the dining car. Then they had sleeping cars. These are Coachyard, the latest run of the two. Then you had a B&O car that started out in Washington, D.C., went to St. Louis. St. Louis handed it over to the Mopac. Mopac took it to Fort Worth, handed it to Texas Pacific. Then we have a Pennsylvania car. These are all brass. And City of Cincinnati, it ran on the St. Louis train. And the Pennsy handed it to Mopac at St. Louis, took it to Texas, and it ended up being on the Texas Eagle. The Texas Eagle was a very fast train. Now, I get a lot of my information and I study from a website that you ought to go to, and it's called Streamline Schedules. And just type in Streamline Schedules, and it prints up this schedule. This happens to be the Texas Eagle, 1958. tells all the different stops that you have, and talks about, for an example, here is a sleeping car through train. And also on this train was the Gulf Mobile in Ohio. If you lived in Chicago, you got on a sleeping car at night, but say you took the midnight special to St. Louis, got on that sleeping car of the Gulf Mobile in Ohio. They took it to St. Louis. They handed it over, that car, the Gulf Mobile in Ohio, sleeping car, to the Mopac. Mopac took it to Texas, and then the TP took it all the way to uh, uh, El Paso. And typically at El Paso, they would turn that car. Sometimes it depends if the car was heavily sold for LA, then the Southern Pacific would take it over. But this here is a nice rendition of the Texas Pacific. And once again, look up these schedules. This was a very fast train. To give you an example, uh, this train averaged 40 miles an hour. In certain sections, it averaged 50 miles an hour, and it had 15 to 17 stops. And so that train was really hauling, and which it really could. Now, a lot of people, when you were in the East Coast and you wanted to go to the West Coast, you had a choice that you could go with. Say you was going to California, you could take the California Zephyr, you could take the Union Pacific, you could take the Santa Fe, but all of those went through high altitudes. And a lot of people that in that particular time didn't like that. I know my mother, anytime she got over 3,000 feet in the air, she said she couldn't breathe because she had asthma. And she didn't like the higher altitude. And one of the selling points that the TNP and the Mopac did is that there was low elevation to the West Coast, and there was very low elevation. And so the Texas Pacific, Texas Eagle was a very fine train. It was a very nice train, and I just really love it. And I just like the color of that whole train. And now we're going to go to the Aztec Eagle. Okay, the Mopac had a train that was called the Aztec Eagle. And once again, I use the streamlined schedule, and also I have really an extensive library of railroad books, and I just love studying those books. And many of you know I just love Passion of Trains. This train here that I have of the Aztec Eagle, it's not a brass train, it's plastic, but I still makes a good rendition of the Aztec Eagle. And actually, according to this schedule here, it didn't officially become the Aztec Eagle until San Antonio, Texas. And then it went to into Mexico City. And so let's just take a look. What I have here is I have a Proto 2000 E8. Now, typically this train always had two E7s, E6s, E8s. This happens to be an E8. Had a baggage. Also, it had a RPO, and it had 2 to 3 coaches typically. It had a dining and a lounge car on it, and they had a dome. And the dome typically ran usually from St. Louis to San Antonio. This happens to be a Bud dome. And then we had our sleeping cars, and typically the Mopac had 2 to 3, and then the Mexico, the Mexicans